In this world, a structure known as the Tower of Malevolence, also called the Harbinger of Disasters, suddenly appears out of nowhere. Along with it, countless demons and monsters emerge, wreaking havoc on humanity and plunging them into a state of hopelessness. Their devastation is so overwhelming that mankind is driven to the brink of extinction, until the first generation of Awakened, known as the Founders, rise to challenge them. These legendary warriors manage to push back the monstrous threats and eventually succeed in defeating them, destroying the tower in the process. For the first time, humanity claims victory against these creatures from another dimension. The Founders are hailed as heroes, and their legendary feats are immortalized in the mausoleum of the Founders. A century later, a young boy named Kanagi Minato sits in a library, engrossed in a book about these legendary figures. As he reads, he learns about a fearless swordsman who, wielding nothing more than a wooden stick, single-handedly defeats 10,000 soldiers. He also discovers the tale of a wise wizard capable of casting powerful magic without even uttering an incantation. However, in the present era, these stories are regarded as mere legends or fairy tales, a far cry from the reality they once were. Despite this, Kanagi dreams of engraving his name in history, just as the Founders did. He bears the seal of the Chosen Ones, a mysterious mark that has appeared on his body, and he vows to prove himself worthy of the title. However, reality hits hard. As his classmates celebrate passing their class, Kanagi remains seated, his gaze fixed on his phone screen. The message staring back at him confirms his worst fear. He has failed the Hunter's qualification exam. While laughter and cheers fill the air, his eyes well up with tears. To make matters worse, his classmates begin mocking him, joking about throwing a party while sarcastically suggesting that he should clean up the trash instead. As someone who has awakened, he understands the simple rule: writing down a name would secure success in the test. Yet despite this knowledge, he has failed 3 consecutive years, earning nothing but ridicule and the label of disgrace. This is his final opportunity, and with it slipping through his fingers, he resigns himself to the idea that becoming a hunter is an impossible dream. Alone in the classroom, he silently gathers the discarded scraps of paper, his thoughts heavy with disappointment. Achieving a perfect score on the written exam and dedicating years to refining his aura has amounted to nothing. His crest, the supposed mark of strength, feels more like an empty scar than a gift. Clutching a trash can, frustration and sorrow well up within him until the words spill out. He too longs to stand among the Founders, to be acknowledged, to be more than a failure. A voice suddenly cuts through his despair, calling his name and urging him toward the school gates. Shaken back to reality, he hesitates before responding that he has completely forgotten. With a sigh, he wishes, just once, to be admired, to be celebrated just like the A-rank hunter Hizaki Kaisei. Outside, a crowd of students has already gathered, murmuring among themselves about Hizaki Kaisei and his charm. Flashing an apologetic smile, the man addresses the students, acknowledging the commotion he has caused. Meanwhile, Hizaki's followers turn their attention to Kanagi, berating him for arriving late and keeping their leader waiting. Stammering, he can do nothing but offer a weak apology. However, before this can escalate, Hizaki himself intervenes, casually instructing his subordinates to back down. One of his followers scrambles to explain, but Hizaki, forcefully smiling, gestures toward the press stationed nearby. The presence of reporters silences any further objections, and his subordinates hastily apologize. One of the reporters approaches Hizaki, eagerly showing him a photograph meant for the cover of an upcoming documentary. The image captures the precise moment he vanquished a dragon with a single stroke of his sword. When asked for his thoughts, Hizaki responds with a mix of pride and embarrassment, admitting that while it is a great picture, it still feels slightly uncomfortable to see himself glorified in such a way. Kanagi and Hizaki entered the academy together 3 years prior, but their paths have always been drastically different. Hizaki has been a prodigy, effortlessly securing top marks in every subject, while Kanagi has been nothing more than an afterthought, a convenient target for Hizaki's constant torment. Now, forced to spend an entire day alongside Hizaki for the documentary, Kanagi can't help but question why he has even been summoned in the first place. Curiosity sparks among the reporters as one of them points at Kanagi, inquiring about his identity. Without hesitation, Hizaki turns, as if ready to make an introduction, only to pause mid-sentence. Leaning slightly toward one of his followers, he whispers a quick question, asking for the boy's name. They reveal that it is Kanagi Minato. With a smooth nod, Hizaki repeats the name aloud, feigning familiarity. He then adds that while Kanagi's grades aren't particularly impressive, he has a habit of constantly seeking Hizaki's help, so much so that it often interferes with his own training. This statement leaves Kanagi bewildered. His confusion only deepens when Hizaki goes on to inform the reporters that Kanagi often seeks financial assistance. Kanagi knows the truth. Hizaki has always been the one taking from him, never the other way around. It is a year unlike any he has ever endured, filled with humiliation and helplessness. The reporters, captivated by Hizaki's narrative, praise him as a flawless role model. As if to cement this image, Hizaki suddenly takes hold of Kanagi and proclaims to the cameras that he will soon rise as an awakened one, destined to leave his mark on history. The reporters turn their attention to Kanagi, assuming he must feel honored by such generosity. They press him for a response, eager to hear his gratitude. Kanagi, ready to refute such nonsense, is halted when Hizaki leans in and murmurs that he has failed the test and he is worthless. He presses Kanagi, saying it is best to accept this outcome and avoid further trouble. A sharp squeeze on his shoulder sends Kanagi's mind spiraling back to the torment he has endured before. Fear twists his expression, and when he finally speaks, it is with a forced smile, claiming there are no words to express his appreciation. With that, Hizaki moves forward, commanding the conversation's direction. Time is limited, he says, and the discussion needs to move on. He gestures toward his trophies, a display that leaves Kanagi trembling. From behind him, he catches the hushed exchange between 2 reporters, one questioning whether Kanagi's name is even worth mentioning, the other dismissing the idea entirely, saying that nobody will care. It is at that moment Kanagi fully grasps a cruel reality, that power alone dictates who is remembered. Morality has no weight in the equation. He struggles to suppress the tears threatening to spill as he attempts to speak his own name. Before he can gather himself, a voice calls out, shaking him from his thoughts. Turning, he sees Hizaki approaching with his usual entourage. Without explanation, Hizaki orders him to appear at the founder's mausoleum after school. Kanagi, still disoriented, questions why. Hizaki, however, merely smiles before suggesting something unexpected. A chance to retake the test. This shocks and confuses Kanagi even more. Hizaki assures him he will handle matters with the association. When Kanagi questions his motives, Hizaki makes it clear that this is just another move to boost his own image. The upcoming documentary's final segment will take place at the founder's mausoleum. Everything has to be recorded there, and the matter needs to be addressed accordingly. Before departing, Hizaki makes one thing clear, revealing that Kanagi has no choice but to comply. As Kanagi stands there, struggling to process the situation, he feels an internal conflict warring within him. He detests being used as a pawn for Hizaki's self-promotion, but at the same time, this is a rare second chance. Despite his resentment, a faint smile creeps onto his face, determined that this time, he won't fail. Later, at the founder's mausoleum, the cameras roll as the final scene of the documentary unfolds. The lens captures Hizaki standing in front of the historic site, making a grand declaration. After the reporters finish their interview with Hizaki, they thank him for his time, mentioning they have captured a great photo. Hizaki politely responds, expressing his anticipation for the article. Once the reporters leave, Hizaki ventures deeper into the mausoleum, where his subordinates are digging something. He inquires if they have located the entry point, to which they eagerly point out a hidden pathway, asking if it is the one they have been searching for. Suddenly, a voice from behind questions their actions. Hizaki casually responds, almost amused, suggesting the person should have figured it out by now. He reveals they are on a treasure hunt. The other individual, Kanagi, erupts in anger, calling Hizaki a grave robber and demanding if he understands the significance of those resting in the mausoleum. Hizaki dismisses the concern, kicking a statue of one of the founders and declaring that the past is irrelevant. He argues that the opportunity to become wealthy is too great to pass up, brushing off the importance of the founder's remains as mere relics. Kanagi, visibly upset, acknowledges the founder's greatness and expresses his desire to emulate their legacy. In a fit of rage, he lunges at Hizaki, but Hizaki effortlessly dodges the attack and strikes Kanagi hard in the stomach, causing him to collapse in pain. As Hizaki continues to berate and assault him, one of his men interrupts, announcing they have discovered something valuable. The man presents a collection of treasures, including a circular crystal that seems to emit a mysterious aura. Hizaki is ecstatic, claiming it could secure his future without the need for work. Kanagi, weakened and struggling to speak, attempts to stop them, but his efforts are in vain. Hizaki grabs him by the shirt and explains in simple terms that he has been using Kanagi all along. He reveals that he has manipulated Kanagi, knowing about his frequent visits to the library and his aspirations. Hizaki coldly declares that Kanagi has served his purpose as a pawn in his scheme. Hizaki then drags Kanagi outside, taunting him about his dream of becoming a hunter. He reveals his plan to steal the treasures from the mausoleum and disappear, framing Kanagi as the culprit. As Hizaki holds Kanagi over a cliff, he mockingly asks for his name one last time, only to dismiss its importance. With a final cruel goodbye, Hizaki lets go, leaving Kanagi to face his fate. Kanagi plunges into the river, his thoughts swirling as he wonders if this is truly the end. His mind is racing with thoughts about all the years of training, the countless tests, and if they all have been for nothing. He feels himself fading, his existence slipping away without leaving a mark on anyone's memory. Just as despair begins to consume him, a strange glow surrounds him. Figures materialize, their voices echoing around him, speaking of a vessel and using Kanagi as one to fulfill their wish. They reveal themselves as the heroic spirits, the very souls sealed within that sacred place. Our boy is really confused about the lights and voices appearing out of nowhere. One of the spirits points at Kanagi Crest, calling it Crest of Nothingness. They explain that while it holds no inherent power, it has the potential to manifest abilities beyond imagination. The spirits offer him a choice, to form a contract with one of them and gain mastery over a specific art, whether it be magic, swordsmanship, endurance, or alchemy. They urge him to decide whose power he desires most. At first, Kanagi thinks of seeking strength similar to Hizaki, but his resolve shifts. He no longer wants to mimic others. He craves a power unmatched by anything in the world, a force capable of erasing every humiliation he has endured. When the spirits press him to choose, Kanagi declares he wants it all. He demands every ounce of their power, refusing to settle for anything less. The founders are taken aback, deeming his request impossible, as no vessel can withstand such an overwhelming influx of energy. Yet Kanagi yells at them and suddenly starts absorbing all of them. Getting inside him, all spirits are confused and shocked that a weak vessel like Kanagi has absorbed all of them. From atop a nearby hill, Hizaki notices a sudden burst of light erupting from the river. The water surges violently, as if an explosion has occurred beneath its surface. Moments later, Kanagi emerges, landing on the hill in front of Hizaki and his men. Kanagi looks irradiating a powerful aura and his vibes seem completely different. One of Hizaki's men sneers, mocking Kanagi for crawling back like a roach. Kanagi, undeterred, breaks off a small branch from a tree and swings it at his men. They laugh incredulously, questioning if he truly intends to fight them with nothing but a stick. Hizaki, growing impatient, orders his men to cut Kanagi's head off, ensuring he won't survive this time. One of the men, calling himself an A-rank swordsman, steps forward channeling his energy into his sword. He arrogantly declares that Kanagi should feel honored to be cut down by someone of his caliber. With a swift motion, the swordsman lunges at Kanagi, his blade slicing through the air. But as he lands behind Kanagi, something goes horribly wrong. Blood begins to pour from the swordsman's body, as though he has been the one struck. He screams in agony, collapsing to the ground. Hizaki and the remaining man stare in stunned silence, unable to comprehend what has just happened. Kanagi stands calmly with the branch still in his hand, mocks the fallen man, asking him to teach him the sword skills he was yapping about. Hearing that the remaining man starts channeling a spell, however, before he could do anything, Kanagi counters it with his own. He channels the Thunderbolt Hadad spell with incantation, and it directly strikes Hizaki man, sending him defeated on ground. Hizaki stands in disbelief, struggling to process how Kanagi has effortlessly defeated his men, first with nothing more than a branch, and now with magic that requires no incantation. Memories of ancient legends resurface in his mind. Tales of a legendary swordsman who once felled an army of 10,000 with only a wooden stick, and a wizard who could cast spells without chanting. These stories, long dismissed as myths, now seem to come alive in Kanagi. The souls of the founders, once dormant within the mausoleum, now reside within him. There are 106 souls in him of the great founders. Kanagi, recalling Hizaki's earlier boasts about marking his name in history, steps closer. He declares that his name won't be forgotten, that he will be remembered eternally, and that a new myth will be born from his actions. As he approaches, Hizaki struggles to accept the reality before him, that Kanagi has absorbed the souls of the founders through the crest of nothingness. Inside Kanagi, the founders express their joy and excitement, marveling at the freedom they now experience after centuries of confinement. They eagerly discuss who will take control of Kanagi's body, treating it as a competition. Among the founders, the great swordsman Hinoki Reichiru addresses Kanagi, expressing no surprise at being remembered after so long. He inquires about Kanagi's plans, dismissing Hizaki as insignificant, and directing Kanagi's attention to something far more ominous behind him. Kanagi, now focused, turns to Hizaki, who stammers in fear, warning Kanagi not to underestimate an A-rank hunter like himself. Without hesitation, Kanagi delivers a powerful jab to Hizaki's face, sending him flying through the air. Kanagi then turns his attention to a mysterious bag emitting a dark aura. As he focuses on it, a surge of immense power blasts out from within, catching him off guard. Hinoki, however, remains calm with a faint smile playing on his lips. Meanwhile, in the city, a three-headed wolf monster is wreaking havoc. A man calls out to Kisaragi, urging him to handle the beast. Kisaragi swiftly engages the creature. With a graceful leap, he positions himself above the three-headed wolf and strikes it with a waterfall impact attack from above. The crowd erupts in cheers, amazed by his ability to instantly defeat an A-rank monster. Kisaragi, an S-rank hunter, humbly accepts their praise, inquiring about Hizaki's whereabouts. A man mentions that Hizaki is likely occupied with an interview, adding that it must be nice to be hailed as a young hope. Kisaragi brushes off the comment, noting that Hizaki's rising popularity will benefit their guild's reputation. As they prepare to file a report and grab a drink, a deafening aura engulfs the city, accompanied by an overwhelming pressure. Panic spreads as people collapse, and even hunters struggle to withstand the force. Kisaragi turns to see his team in distress, realizing that A-rank and B-rank hunters are unable to stand against the source of the pressure. It is clear that an S-rank monster has arrived. On the streets, people collapse under the immense pressure that is emanating from the mausoleum of the founders. In the jungle, Hizaki, trembling and struggling to sit up, stares in shock as a massive monster emerges from the bag before them. He mutters in disbelief, questioning if it is a demon and what it could possibly be. Kanagi explains that Hizaki's actions have undone the seal, releasing one of the boss monsters from the tower that has been sealed away. Hizaki, observing the unfolding disaster, understands immediately what has transpired. The act of removing the relics has undone a powerful seal, allowing one of the tower's dormant monstrosities to break free. Hinoki, analyzing the beast with precision, recognizes it instantly. It is the embodiment of emptiness, classified well above S-rank danger. According to Hinoki, it can kill numerous humans within a few kilometers with its poisonous aura and was quite common during their era. Panic takes hold of Hizaki, who abandons reason and flees in desperation, convinced that staying means certain death. Kanagi, however, understands the predator's instincts and warns that movement will only invite disaster. The warning comes too late. The moment Hizaki breaks into a run, the monster reacts with predatory precision. It attacks Hizaki with its massive tentacles. Hizaki barely has time to raise his blade in defense before the tentacle strikes, piercing his chest with ease. Though he once slew a dragon with that very sword, it proves utterly useless against this ancient beast. The creature wastes no time spreading onto Hizaki's body and draining his very essence. His agonized screams echo through the streets. But Kanagi, having foreseen the inevitable, merely observes. Hinoki, standing beside Kanagi, takes advantage of the moment to place a hand on his shoulder. He proposes that he seeks complete control over Kanagi's body. He asks if Kanagi wants to see his one-handed sword style. But before the offer can be fully entertained, other founders intervene, grabbing Hinoki by his hair, accusing Hinoki of attempting to claim such a powerful vessel for himself. Caught in the act, Hinoki seeks to defuse the situation, though it doesn't help. It is Kanagi who disrupts the dispute, presenting his own terms. He will not grant control to a single individual. His body will be shared among them all. According to him, he will surpass them all and ascend to their level, proving his worth through strength alone. If they seek to use his body, they will need to show him what true power looks like. Hinoki, bewildered by Kanagi's audacity, readies his blade. Then, seizing the opportunity, he takes the first step in merging with Kanagi's body, rallying the other founders to do the same. As Hinoki lifts his sword, shadowing him, Kanagi does the same and targets the limbs of the monster. Hinoki's blade, guided by the expertise of another founder, severs one of the demon's arms in a single decisive strike. The beast retaliates with another violent swing, but Kanagi, now infused with yet another founder's mastery, evades with inhuman agility. Strength upon strength layers within him, each founder taking turns in controlling his movements. The old master's influence grants him the ability to seize the creature's own tentacles, using sheer force to slam the monster into the earth. The monster is sent flying by the attacks as Kanagi grabs a bow from the ground, allowing him to pierce the monster. He then uses every skill at his disposal, including whirlwind, fire breath, and ice attacks. Hinoki, seizing control once more, picks up Hizaki's broken sword from the ground. Just as the demon attempts a surprise attack from below, Kanagi's eyes glow yellow as the great wizard within him takes over, electrocuting the creature mid-strike. With a powerful leap, Kanagi positions himself above the monster, and Hinoki, now in control, executes his signature one-handed sword technique, the Gekirutachi wave cutting blade. slicing the demon in half and ending its rampage. A victorious smile spreads across Kanagi's face as the demon falls. Meanwhile, perched on a nearby tree, a raven observes the entire scene. Somewhere in the city, a man standing on a tower answers his phone, shocked to hear that the monster has already been defeated before he could intervene. He inquires if there are any strong hunters nearby, and the person on the other end reveals that, according to footage from the Raven, it is a student from the academy who has accomplished the feat. The man, Chihara Midori, the world's strongest awakened, expresses his
Our video ends here. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, bye bye.